Right. I think the next item in business, Ms. Pearson, you have a legislative report. Ms. Pearson.
Good morning. Maybe this is better. Well, last month I included an end-of-session enrolled bill report in your board packet. I was not here last month, so today I want to take the opportunity to kind of wrap up the first year of the two-year legislative session. This month, because the final deadline for the governor to sign or veto bills has passed on October 13th, I've now included a final bill report, which shows all the bills that were submitted to the governor and received his signature of those that we've been tracking throughout the year. So many of the water-related bills and Delta-related bills that were signed into law, only one actually was a Delta-related bill. Many of them dealt with technical tweaks. For example, there were a few to allow specific water agencies to apply for a particular pot of grant funding or loan funding, or to allow joint application with another agency to be eligible for state funding, etc. Nothing all that notable. However, there were a few significant bills that I wanted to report to you on that were passed this year. One of which is Senator Steinberg's SB 753. This bill was designed to strengthen and clarify the enforcement authority of the Central Valley Flood Protection Board in order to better protect and maintain the state's levee system. The bill came about because the board has struggled in the past to deal with illegal encroachments on the levee system under its jurisdiction. So before this bill, the board had to comply with a pretty lengthy and often ineffective process to notify landowners when they had an illegal encroachment, and the board could not assess fees for noncompliance. Essentially, their only recourse was to sue landowners in court. But that was very resource intensive, as you might imagine, and sometimes overkill, given the often minor but frequent nature of the encroachments. So Senator Steinberg took personal ownership of this bill, and on several occasions he would show up at the policy committee with a large poster-sized photo of some of the more egregious encroachments that the board has come across.
You mean the wine cellar in the levee?
For example, wine cellars carved into these publicly funded levees, swimming pools on top of levees, and one that's kind of seared into my memory is one where essentially an entire levee section had just been excavated in order to build a tunnel and an overpass. So the governor signed that bill earlier this month, and now the board will proceed with preparing some emergency regulations in order to begin implementing their new authority. Two other bills that I wanted to report on both relate to the promotion of the greater use of recycled water. These are AB 803 by Assemblymember Jemmy Gomez and SB 322 by Senator Ben Hueso out of San Diego. Both passed the legislature and were signed by the governor this month. Both bills sought to eliminate barriers for the increased reuse of treated wastewater. In law, treated wastewater has been subject to many of the same restrictions as sewage, actually, and AB 803 takes a step to begin to draw distinctions and put in place clearer standards that make reuse more accessible as a local water supply option, while still protecting public health. SB 322, which was sponsored by the San Diego County Water Authority, requires that the State Department of Public Health convene an expert panel to investigate the development of what they're calling uniform criteria for direct potable reuse. In direct potable reuse, treated wastewater goes through an additional chemical and biological process and extensive filtration, and then usually mixes with the regular drinking water supply before going through normal drinking water treatment. So a report is due to the legislature at the end of 2016, and notably in his signing message, the governor said, California needs more high-quality water, and recycling is key to getting there. He also essentially told the board to hurry up in getting their report done and encouraged them to get it done more quickly than 2016. On September 24th, the third in a series of water bond hearings was held in the state legislature. This one by Senate Natural Resources Committee Chair Fran Pavley and Senate Environmental Quality Committee Chair San Mateo Senator Jerry Hill. The authors of both current water bond bills presented during this hearing, and those are Assembly Member Anthony Rendon, Chair of Water Parks and Wildlife Committee, and also Senator Lois Wolk. A revised water bond is expected to be one of next year's legislative priorities. In fact, the Speaker has said so himself. Both draft bonds total about $6.5 billion each, compared to the $11 billion bond that's currently scheduled for the 2014 ballot. But the similarities somewhat end there. Expect more discussion on this issue next year, and a decision will have to be made either way on whether to proceed with a revised bond on this or a future ballot, or simply to remove the ballot, the bond scheduled for the ballot, or to allow the bond to go forward. So the Water Parks and Wildlife Committee is taking their show on the road, and they're going to hold several regional water bond hearings, including one in Indio on October 30th and a couple more that are expected in December. That pretty much wraps up the first year of a 2-year legislative session that we're in. The legislature returns January 6th. The governor's budget will come out January 10th, and any 2-year bills must make it out of their first house by the end of January in order to remain up for consideration throughout that session. That concludes my report. Are there any questions from the board?
No, I was just talking with our colleague, Supervisor Roostaller, about the breadth and scope of the legislative report.
Yeah, I slipped one in there to see if you were paying attention, which I should have known better.
I was paying attention
because you brought it up. You brought it to my attention yesterday. But yeah, there was a bill related to use of growlers at microbreweries that I had been tracking. But the old adage, "Save water, drink beer." So I think it all ties together, really.
Save water, drink beer. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson.
I have a question.
Oh, Ms.